Stop. Before you scroll past this, before the next video fills this space, before the noise of your day picks back up and carries you somewhere else, I need you to stop right here, right now, in this exact moment. Something shifted in the spiritual atmosphere around your life overnight. Not slowly, not in the way seasons usually change. With a gradual movement you can feel building and prepare yourself for. Overnight. And I did not send this message to reach you months from now when the evidence has finished surfacing and the story has been rewritten. And it is obvious to everyone around you that something moved. I sent it to reach you today in this moment, before the shift has fully landed in the visible world, before the people who were positioned against you have finished registering what changed, before you yourself have been able to put language to the feeling that has been sitting at the edge of your awareness since you woke up, my child. I know what you have been carrying. I am not speaking about that in a general sense, as though I were addressing a broad category of experience shared by many. I am speaking about the specific texture of what you have been holding, the particular weight of this, the individual shape of the situation you have been standing in, which has felt, for longer than you want to admit, like something that was not going to resolve cleanly, like a season with no clear ending point, like a narrative that was running about you in spaces you could not fully reach, sustained by people who found it convenient to sustain it, while you stood on the outside of it knowing the truth, and having no clean mechanism for making the truth the loudest thing in the room. I know what it feels like to be misread, not in a momentary, casual way that passes quickly, but at the level of your character, to have someone form a settled, decided conclusion about who you are that has almost nothing to do with who you actually are. To watch that conclusion travel, to feel it arrive in spaces before you do, coloring how people receive you before they have even had a full conversation with you. To carry the gap between what is being believed about you and what is actually true. And to carry it every day, mostly alone, with no clear resolution on the horizon. And what makes it heavier, my child, is that the people who are carrying the wrong version of you are not, in many cases, malicious people who are deliberately choosing to believe something false. They received something incomplete. They received a version of events that was shaped before it reached them, curated to leave out the parts that would complicate the conclusion. And because the person who gave it to them spoke with confidence, because the framing was simple and the narrative was easy to follow, they did not slow down long enough to ask the question that would have changed everything. They did not come to you. They did not say, "I heard something, and I want to give you the chance to speak to it." They settled into what they received, and they let it shape how they treated you. And you had to keep going. You had to walk into spaces where you knew you were being received through that lens, without the ability to remove the lens, without even the comfort of knowing exactly what they had been told. You had to perform the ordinary functions of your life: show up, work, engage, relate, while carrying the awareness that the room was, in some portion, responding to a version of you that did not exist. My child, that specific thing is one of the most exhausting things a human being can be asked to carry. I know that. I have seen every moment of it, and I need you to know that the carrying of it was not invisible to me. And I know what you chose in the middle of that. I know the specific decision not made once, but made repeatedly, sometimes daily, sometimes multiple times in the same hour, to hold your tongue. To stay quiet when speaking would have felt so justified and so deserved. To let the accusation exist unchallenged in the short term, because you knew, even without being able to articulate it fully, that engaging on their terms would cost you something more significant than the short-term relief of being heard. I know how that felt, the restraint of it, the discipline that required from you, the moments where you almost reached for the phone, the nights you sat down to write something and then decided not to send it, the conversations you rehearsed that you never delivered. I saw every one of those moments, not from a distance. I was present in the specific details of each one, and I want you to hear me say this clearly, my child, before I say anything else. I was not absent. Not in a single one of them, and I was not inactive. If you feel something in your body right now, as you are receiving this, a tightness in the chest, or the opposite, a sudden stillness where tension had been, like something in you is recognizing what your mind is still catching up to, do not dismiss that. Do not scroll past it. That is not random. That is your spirit responding to a voice it recognizes. You were not sent here by accident. This message was already prepared for the day you needed it. Type, I was never the problem. My child, I want to speak about the season you have been in because I think you have been carrying it without being fully seen in it. Not even by the people who know pieces of the situation, not even by yourself. In the full, honest weight of what these months have actually been and what they have cost you. There is a particular kind of weariness that accumulates when you are misread over a long period of time. It is different from the tiredness of hard work, different from the fatigue of physical difficulty, different from the exhaustion of caring for people who need you. It sits deeper than any of those. It settles into the place where your sense of yourself lives, the internal place where you hold your understanding of who you are and what you stand for, and it creates a persistent friction there. A resistance every time you walk into a space where you suspect the wrong version of you has arrived before you did, every time you have to wonder whether the person in front of you is responding to you or to what they were told about you, every time you have to navigate not just the moment but the shadow of a narrative that has been following you into rooms. And beneath all of that, the hardest part, the part you have mostly not said out loud, the part that has been its own quiet weight underneath everything else, is the injustice of it. Not injustice in the abstract sense of life failing to be fair, but the specific injustice of a narrative that was built on something false, built on a version of events that served the person constructing it, built on omissions, on selective framing, on the kind of partial truth that is more effective than a full lie because it borrows credibility from the real. And the people who received that narrative did not hold it loosely. They did not come to you. They did not allow enough uncertainty in their conclusion for the full picture to arrive. They settled, and you were left standing outside their settled understanding of you, carrying the truth, with no clean way to make it reach them. Beloved, I have seen every moment of that. I have not looked away from the injustice of it. I have been close to you in the specific details of this season, in the individual moments of restraint, in the individual choices to stay still when everything in you wanted to move. I have not been observing from a comfortable distance. I have been present, and I have been doing something in the unseen that the visible evidence has not yet fully revealed to you. Type God saw everything. There are rooms you have not been in, my child. Conversations you were specifically excluded from. Spaces where your name traveled without you, where it was handled by people who had an agenda for how the handling should go, who shaped it into something that served their narrative, rather than reflected your reality. You know some of those rooms existed. You can trace the edges of what was decided in them by looking at the shifts in how certain people moved around you, by noticing which doors closed quietly, by the absence of support that should have been there. But here is what you could not know from the outside, my child. Here is what the angle you were standing at made invisible to you. I was in those rooms, not as a passive presence who observed what was happening and filed it away for some future accounting, active, engaged, working before the conversation, even fully formed. Positioning what needed to be positioned, preparing what would eventually be needed to dismantle what they were assembling. Placing in the room the element that would eventually introduce doubt into the conclusions they were reaching, the question that would eventually crack the agreement they were solidifying, the evidence that would eventually surface from a direction they had not anticipated. Before the first word was spoken about you in those spaces, I was already there. Before the second person agreed with the first, I had already introduced into the situation what would eventually unravel the agreement. Before the case against you was fully assembled in their minds, I had already begun building mine, and my child, I want you to understand what building looks like when I build it. I do not work the way a human strategist works, assembling pieces from the outside, introducing elements into a situation, and hoping they land correctly. I work from the inside of the situation. I work in the hearts of the people in the room, in the part of them that still carries a conscience, that still responds to truth when it is presented in a way that their defenses have not covered. I work in the timing of what surfaces and when. I work in the unexpected question that comes from an unexpected source. The moment of honesty that nobody planned, the convergence of events that nobody arranged and nobody could have arranged. I work in the accumulation of small, unremarkable moments that, taken individually, look like coincidence, and taken together, add up to something that cannot be explained as coincidence. This is what I have been doing in the rooms you were excluded from. Not one dramatic intervention. A sustained, intelligent, patient movement that has been building toward a specific outcome, your vindication, since before you even knew the battle had started. Isaiah 54:17 says, "No weapon formed against you shall prosper, and every tongue that rises in judgment against you, you shall condemn." My child, this verse does not mean that you personally walk into every room where your name has been misused and make the correction yourself. It means that I give you the authority to render judgment on the accusation while I do the work of the room. I am the one who was present. I am the one who positioned the person who would eventually ask the question the room could not answer cleanly. I am the one who arranged for what was whispered in the dark to travel toward a light it was never supposed to reach. I am the one who kept a record that would matter precisely when the record was needed. You were not left undefended. You were defended in every room that mattered by someone whose presence in the room could not be denied or managed or negotiated with. I was there. I am still there. And what I built in those spaces is not fragile. It does not depend on the cooperation of people who have already decided whose side they are on. It depends on my authority, and my authority over your situation has never been contested. My child, if you are still here with me, if you have been receiving this word by word and something in you has been saying yes quietly, to each part of it I want you to know that your staying is not accidental either. You were brought here for this message, and this message was prepared for the day you arrived. Type, "I am chosen." Now I want to tell you something about how my courtroom operates, my child, because it is unlike anything you have encountered in the natural world, and understanding it changes everything about how you see what has been happening in your situation. In human courts, justice is administered through accusation and counter-accusation. One party builds a case. The other party builds a defense. Evidence is presented on both sides. Narratives are argued, and a decision is rendered based on who performed their version most persuasively. The person who argues most effectively, who controls the frame most skillfully, who manages the room most strategically, they win. And in many human systems, the person who is wrong can win that way, given enough resources and enough will to sustain the performance. That is not how I work. My courtroom does not operate on the currency of persuasion. It does not respond to whoever speaks loudest or assembles their narrative most aggressively or most publicly. My courtroom operates on evidence. Not the performed kind, not the strategic kind, the lived kind, the kind that accumulates in private, in the moments no one else is present for, in the choices made in the dark that no one but me registered. Here is what the people who built against you did not understand. They came into my courtroom with accusations. They came with their interpretation of events, their curated version of the story, their carefully framed presentation of what they believed or wanted others to believe was true about you. And because they were louder than you and more aggressive than you, and more willing to perform their narrative in public spaces, they believed they were winning the argument before you had even responded. But the argument they were making does not move me. Loud does not impress me. Aggressive does not shift my verdict. What they were presenting is not what I am looking at. I look at the private record. I look at what you chose when no one was watching. Every morning you got up and did what needed to be done without applause. Every time you served in a capacity beneath what you were built for and served it fully anyway. Every time you held your tongue when speaking would have felt justified and satisfying. Every time you chose not to retaliate. Every long night of just staying faithful when faithfulness had no visible return. Every private, unglamorous, unwitnessed decision to keep trusting me when I felt far away. All of that was in evidence before they submitted their first accusation. And my child, I need you to stay with this. You were not the defendant. You were the evidence. They came to court thinking they were prosecuting you. They did not understand that every attack they mounted, every accusation they added, every move they made against you was building a record not against you, but against themselves. Every action taken against someone I had chosen was logged, not for the purpose of retaliation, for the purpose of testimony, for the purpose of the revelation that was always coming. Romans 8:31, if God is for you, who can be against you? This is not a statement of optimism. This is a legal declaration issued from my throne. The question has one honest answer. No one. No one can be against you in any lasting, final, determinative way. They can be loud, they can be organized, they can assemble impressive structures of opposition that look, for a season, like they are winning, but they cannot win against what I have decided. My verdict was in before they opened their case, and a verdict I have issued does not get overturned by human argument. Type "This is for me, my child." Before I continue, I want to pause and place something in your heart. If this message has reached someone you love, someone who is standing in the middle of their own version of this, silent, waiting, carrying the weight of being misread and trusting God in a season where the visible evidence does not yet match what they believe, I want to invite you to sow a seed in their name today. Not because a seed changes the verdict I have already issued, but because sowing in someone else's name is an act of declaration. It is you saying, "I see this person. I believe God is moving in their life. I want to plant something in the ground of their season." When you sow in someone else's name, you are participating in the same thing I have been doing for you, showing up on their behalf in a way they did not ask for and did not expect. You can do that today by visiting the link in the description below, or by scanning the QR code on screen, and I will honor every seed sown in faith. My child, I want to come back to something I said earlier, because I do not think you have fully received it yet. You did not need a crowd. I know what it felt like to look around during the hardest part of this season and notice who was not there, to register the silence of people who had been vocal about supporting you before the situation became costly, to notice who calculated what standing with you would take from them and decided the cost was too high, to notice whose loyalty was conditioned on whether you were winning, whose friendship was dependent on whether being associated with you still carried a favorable return. And I know what that kind of absence does, not just to your confidence, but to your sense of yourself. It raises a question you would not say out loud, but have been asking internally. Did I misjudge the people around me? Were the relationships less solid than I believed? Did I read things more generously than was warranted? Beloved, I want to speak directly to that question. Their silence does not mean you were wrong about them. It means the season revealed what was always true about the limits of what any human being, even a genuinely loving, genuinely loyal one, can offer you. No person has the access I have. No friend, however deep, can enter every room. No defender, however willing, holds authority in spaces that are closed to them. No one in your human network can do what I have been doing on your behalf in the unseen. And my child, I want to say something about the specific gift hidden inside their absence, because I know you have not been able to see it from where you were standing. When the people you expected did not show up, what that created, as painful as it was a clearing. It created a space in the situation where the only presence available was mine. It created conditions where no human credit could be taken for what I was about to do. When the vindication comes, and it is coming, there will be no person who can say, "I made a call. I put in a word. I made this happen for you." There will be nothing to point to except the movement of my hand, and that is not an accident. I allowed the human support to be absent in this season because I am building something in you that needs to be traceable to me, not to your strategy, not to your network, not to the right person showing up at the right time. To me, only to me. You needed one voice with the kind of authority that does not need to be admitted to a room because the room cannot exclude it. One voice that did not calculate the social cost before choosing your side. One voice that did not need to weigh its own position before deciding to show up for yours. One voice whose word spoken over your life cannot be cancelled by any subsequent vote among those who disagreed. I am that voice. I was speaking before anyone else entered the conversation, and what I spoke over you is still in full effect. Proverbs 21:30, there is no wisdom, no insight, no plan that can succeed against the Lord, my child. They had plans, organized, deliberate, layered plans, alliances that looked durable, narratives that looked stable because they were being reinforced from multiple directions simultaneously. They built with care. They were not careless about what they constructed, but deliberate is not the same as unbeatable. Careful is not the same as protected from what I decide to do. They built against one of mine, and there is no architecture of opposition, however carefully designed, however patiently assembled, that can succeed against what I have already purposed. The overnight flip you are sensing right now. That is my verdict arriving in the visible world. That is the dimension you can see catching up to what I settled in the unseen long before today. Type I believe this flip is real. Now I want to tell you something about the people who built their position on the wrong understanding of you, my child, because I think you have been so focused on your own survival in this season that you have not fully registered what is happening to them. They are afraid, not in a vague, performative way, in a specific, increasing, disorienting way that they cannot fully explain to themselves, because it does not track with the visible evidence in the way they expected it to. They built their position on one foundational assumption, that you were operating alone. Every calculation they made about what this situation would cost them was based on the belief that you had whatever human resources you had access to, that those resources were visible and limited, and that they could outmaneuver what was visible. They looked at you, and they counted what they could see, and what they could see looked manageable. It looked like something they could contain, shape, and redirect indefinitely. But they made one error that has now become the defining error of everything they built. They did not count me, not because they disbelieve in God in some general sense, but because they did not believe I would be specifically, actively, personally engaged in your situation at this level. They did not believe that what was happening to you was happening to someone I had taken a direct and sustained interest in. They did not factor in the possibility that the authority I hold over every space they were operating in would be exercised on your behalf in the way it has been exercised, my daughter. They are not running from you. They are running from me. The specific terror of what they are experiencing is not that they got caught by a peer they can manage. It is who is doing the catching. They could have handled your response. They had built their second move for the moment when you reacted, when you defended yourself, when you launched the counteroffensive. They were ready for a version of this where you were the one fighting. They were not ready for a witness they cannot cross-examine, a judge they cannot appeal to a higher court about, a presence in your situation that has no social mechanism for removal. I am that presence. I see not just the action but the intent behind the action, not just the word said but the calculation that produced the word, not just what they did but what they were hoping to accomplish. And that level of being seen, that complete, precise, unambiguous being seen, is what they are now experiencing. And they have nothing to say to it, because you cannot negotiate with someone who already knows everything. You cannot manage a witness who needs no information from you, who was in the room, who logged what happened before they had finished deciding to do it, and so they are moving. Quietly or loudly, depending on who they are. Some are distancing. Some are softening positions they were certain about. Some are asking questions in the room they would not have asked 2 months ago. Some are revisiting conclusions they reached too quickly. Some are noticing cracks in the structure they built and trying to manage those cracks before they become something that cannot be managed. All of that is my movement. All of that is what happens when I begin to reorganize the environment around someone I am defending. Type. They cannot stop what God started. My child, this is the moment in this message where I want to speak plainly about what happened to what was built against you. Not to produce anything in you that resembles satisfaction at someone else's unraveling, but because truth is what I am made of, and the truth of what is happening needs to be spoken directly. Every structure that was raised against you has become something different from what it was designed to be, not because I reached down and dramatically dismantled it in a single moment of visible intervention, but because I am a God of truth, and truth is load-bearing in my creation. What is built without truth in it cannot sustain indefinitely. The fractures are structural. They were always coming. The only question was when. Genesis 50:20. Joseph said these words to the brothers who had conspired against him, who had thrown him into a pit, who had sold him for 20 pieces of silver, who had brought his coat to their father dipped in animal blood, and let their father spend years grieving a son who was still alive. Joseph stood before them with an authority that had been built through every year of the injustice they had set in motion. And he said, "You meant this for evil. God meant it for good." My child, I am not telling you that what was done to you was good. It was not good in the sense that it was right, or deserved, or acceptable. I am telling you that what I do with what was done to you is good. Those are two different statements. The intent of the one who acted against you does not determine the final meaning of what they set in motion. I determine the final meaning, and the meaning I have assigned to this season, to this specific injustice you have been carrying, is not defeat. It is not a closed chapter with a bad ending. It is the preparation for a testimony so specific and so undeniable that it cannot have been manufactured by any natural means. You cannot produce on a stage what is built in a season like this one. You cannot create through strategy and presentation the kind of depth that comes from having been through what you have been through and having emerged from it with your character intact. The season did not damage what I placed in you. It deepened it. The weight you have been carrying was not crushing what I built in you. It was compressing it. And what has been compressed under that kind of sustained pressure does not come out diminished. It comes out dense, and dense things carry their weight into whatever room they enter. What they meant as a silencing is becoming a platform. The very thing they used to limit your credibility is about to become the premise of a testimony that establishes it. The specific injustice that it was not true, that it was built on something false, is exactly what makes the reversal undeniable. When the truth surfaces, the contrast between what was said and what is becoming visible will be impossible to attribute to anything you engineered. The gap between the accusation and the reality will be its own proof. You did not build that gap. You did not manufacture the contrast. The contrast was always there. I am simply allowing it to become impossible to ignore. The case they built against you, I reused it. The record they created of their own actions, I filed it. The evidence of my movement in your life that they tried to suppress, it is surfacing from directions they cannot reach to close. My child, I want you to understand something specific about how I repurpose what was meant against you. The same energy that was invested in opposing you becomes the force that lifts you. The same attention that was spent building the narrative against you creates the audience for the reversal. The people who were watching to see you fall are the same people who will watch the flip, and they cannot look away from it. Because they invested in the story, they are already in the room. They are already paying attention. They were drawn into your story by the opposition, and they will witness the vindication by the same pull. This is not coincidence. This is my architecture. I do not need to find you a new audience for what I am about to do in your life. The opposition already built one for me. Psalm 35 opens this way. Plead my cause, O Lord, with those who strive with me. Fight against those who fight against me, my child. That was always my assignment in your situation, not yours. You were not meant to fight this battle in your own strength, on your own terms, using your own resources. It was always mine, and I have been fighting it in dimensions you did not have access to, with authority they could not counter, toward an outcome they cannot prevent. The justice that is arriving is not something you produced. It is what grows in the ground of sustained faithfulness, when someone keeps trusting me long enough for the seed to produce its full harvest. You have been underground. The season of the underground is ending. What was planted is surfacing now, my daughter. Do not reach to supervise this. Do not try to help it along or shape how it arrives. Let it come the way I designed it to come. Your assignment right now is the same as it has been throughout this entire season. Hold your peace. Keep your character clean. Stay in the truth of who you are, and watch what I do with everything that was built against you. Type, I let go of defending myself. My child, there is something about the nature of overnight reversals that I want you to sit with, because how you understand it will determine how fully you receive what is already in motion. From the outside looking in, an overnight reversal looks sudden. It looks like nothing was happening, and then, all at once, everything happened. Like the situation was fixed in one position, and then it moved. And when people experience a sudden shift in what they believed was settled, there is a natural tendency to search for the cause. What changed? What move was made? What switch was flipped? Here is the answer to that question. Nothing that caused this happened overnight. The movement has been going on for as long as you have been trusting me in the silence. Every day you chose faithfulness, when faithfulness had no visible return, added weight to what was being prepared in the unseen. Every morning you got up and kept going when the situation had not changed, added momentum to something that was always going to arrive. Every time you chose peace instead of retaliation. Every time you trusted me instead of reaching for the fight yourself. Every time you held your tongue one more day and went to sleep without resolution and woke up and trusted me again, that was not wasted. That was not patience producing nothing. That was the accumulation of a tide that was always going to turn, being built day by day from the inside. What looks sudden to the people on the wrong side of this is what sustained faithfulness feels like from the outside when it finally becomes visible. They see the arrival, they do not see the years of approach. They see the reversal. They do not see the daily choosing that produced it. They see the moment everything shifted. They do not see the 1,000 smaller moments, each quiet, each unseen, each requiring something of you where you chose me and I was receiving that choice and building with it. Somebody is defending you fiercely now. And my child, I want you to be clear about who that somebody is, because I want you to stop looking for it to come from the human direction you have been watching. I am the somebody. I was always the somebody. The fierce defense that is arriving in the visible world was being carried out in the unseen the entire time you were waiting. The overnight flip you are sensing is not something that was triggered by a person or a decision or a development you can point to. It is my arrival in the dimension you can see. It is what happens when heaven decides that the preparation is complete and the season of visible movement has begun. And beloved, I am not done. What you are going to witness in the coming weeks and months is not the end of the movement. It is the beginning of the visible portion. What has been happening in the unseen has been going on far longer and has gone far deeper than what is about to surface. What surfaces will be significant, but it is not the conclusion of what I am doing in your life. It is the beginning of the part you will be able to see. My child, I want to speak one more thing about the flip itself, about what it will feel like when it arrives fully in the visible world, because I do not want you to miss it because it arrived differently than you imagined. The vindication of heaven does not always arrive in a single dramatic moment where every wrong is publicly corrected, and every person who doubted you steps forward to acknowledge what they should have known. Sometimes it arrives in the simple, quiet experience of doors opening that were sealed, of people who were cool toward you becoming warm again without explanation, of the specific obstacle that has been blocking a particular path simply not being there anymore when you approach it next, of the general atmosphere around your name beginning to shift in ways that are hard to point to but impossible to miss. Watch for those things, my child. They are my arrival. They are the overnight flip becoming visible piece by piece, not all at once in a single scene, but steadily, undeniably, in ways that add up to something that cannot be explained, except by what I have already told you. Somebody was defending you, and that somebody does not do partial work. The overnight flip is real. The verdict is in. The movement has begun in the visible world, and none of this is going backward. Type, I receive this verdict now. My child, you stayed here through every section of this message, through the parts that were uncomfortable, through the places where the truth pressed close enough for you to recognize yourself in it, and recognizing yourself in it cost something, through the moments where part of you wanted to look away, to skim ahead, to settle for the general impression, rather than stay with the full weight of each specific thing I was saying. And I want to say something about that staying before this message closes, because I do not want you to move on from here without understanding what you just did. Staying is not passive. In a world designed to pull your attention away in 30 seconds, choosing to remain present with something from beginning to end is an act of the will. And staying with this, specifically through the discomfort, through the truth that lingered in places and pressed on the tension that has been there for a long time, that is not a small thing. That is the same quality of staying you have been practicing in the larger situation for longer than anyone around you has fully registered. You have been staying when it would have been easier to leave. You have been holding position when it would have been easier to react and move. You have been trusting me in the silence when everything visible was giving you reasons not to. And what you just did in this message, receiving something difficult and staying through the full weight of it, that is the same discipline. You are not learning it here. You are being confirmed in it. But I want to prepare you for what comes next, my child, because there is an attack that arrives specifically in the moments after the word lands. Right after this video ends, not loudly, not from the outside. From within your own thinking, quiet and reasonable sounding, it will begin to suggest that what you received here was general, that it was designed for a broad category of people, and does not quite reach the specific shape of your particular situation, that the confirmation you felt was something you produced in yourself by wanting to believe it, not something placed in you from the outside. It will come dressed as discernment, as measured thinking, as the mature refusal to be swept away by emotion or wishful interpretation. My child, when that thought arrives, and it will arrive, probably in the first few hours after you leave this name it, do not engage it on its own terms. Do not begin assembling the counter-arguments to each of its points, because that is exactly the kind of engagement it is designed to draw you into. That is the battle it wants to fight with you on its terrain. Simply say, I know whose voice I heard today. I know what was placed in me. I do not receive a spirit of doubt over what God has already settled. You were here. The ground is prepared. I will protect what I planted. My child, I want to say one more thing, and I want you to receive it not as encouragement in the general sense, but as a specific word spoken over the specific situation you walked in here carrying. The overnight flip is not something you have to make happen. It is not dependent on your next move, your next decision, your next attempt to shift the situation in the right direction. It is already in motion. Your assignment from this moment is simply to not get in the way of what I am doing. Stay true, stay clean, stay in alignment with who I made you to be, and watch. Type heaven is defending me right now. If you received this message today, and something in your spirit confirmed before your mind caught up that this was not for the general audience but for you specifically, I want to invite you to do one thing before you leave. Think of the name that just came to your mind, the person in your life who is in their own version of this season. Silent, waiting, carrying the weight of being misread, trusting God in a quiet that nobody around them has fully entered into with them. The one who is close to their own overnight flip but cannot feel it yet. I want to invite you to sow a seed specifically in their name today, not as a transaction that earns them a better outcome, as a declaration over their season, as your way of saying, I see this person. God sees this person. I want to plant something in the ground of their waiting, in faith that the harvest is already on its way. You can do that today by visiting the link in the description below, or by scanning the QR code on screen. Every seed sown here supports this ministry and makes sure messages like this one can reach the person who needs them on the exact day they need them most. And as you carry this word with you, carry these things, the rooms they kept you out of. I was in every one of them. The conversations they had without you, I was not without you in a single one of them. The verdict they thought they were building against you, I overruled it before they finished presenting it. The case they were certain about. It is the evidence now, not against you, against what was built without truth in it. You have been defended fiercely by someone with authority over every room, by someone who does not sleep and does not waver and has never lost a case, by someone who was present in the spaces before you were excluded from them, and who will be present in every space the next chapter of your life opens into, and that someone is not finished with what began in your life. Go in the fullness of what was spoken over you here. Let the verdict settle. Let the flip be real. Let what heaven has decided become the ground you stand on as you walk into every room from this day forward. The preparation is complete. The season of the underground has ended. What was planted in the silence is surfacing now, and it is surfacing in the light.